Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel and welcome to my favorite time of the year where I get to talk about all of the books that I did not like throughout the year. So I am here to talk about the worst books that I read in 2023. If you liked any of these books, then I'm so happy for you, but they did not work for me for one reason or another. We all have different opinions, we all have different tastes, we all look for different things in books, so not every single book is going to work for every person, but if any of these books are your favorites, then I'm sorry, but I just did not like them, and it's not personal, it's not serious, it's not that deep. So yeah, I'm going to talk about my worst books of 2023, and I have some interesting books on here. Yeah, a lot of interesting books on this list. So the first book that I'm going to talk about is The Final Gambit by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This is the third book in the Inheritance Games series. I gave the first book in this series 5 stars when I read it like 2 or 3 years ago. I thought it was so good. There were so many twists and turns and mysteries and just so many things that were all coming together for like the big mystery at the end, and I was so excited to read the second book because of the cliffhanger in the first one. I read the second book and I was like, okay, this was kind of pointless and kind of useless. And then I read the third book and I was like, why does this book even exist? This does not need to be a trilogy, and I think there's like some like spin-off series happening now for this like world, and it's just so unnecessary. Like, this could have been wrapped up in like a slightly longer first book, or like maybe a duology at the most, but this did not need to be a trilogy because just nothing interesting happens in the third book. I was literally just wasting my time reading this book. I just wanted to finish out the series and say that I finished a series, so I pushed through, and it was just like a massive waste of time. This book literally did not need to exist. I don't remember anything that happens in this book, but I just remember it being a genuine waste of my time, and just the characters are just like not really interesting anymore, and the love triangle was just like getting obnoxious, and it was just all so pointless. So I gave that book 1 star. Like, I very rarely give books 1 star, but I gave this book 1 star because I just did not like it at all. It was just horrible. So yeah, that is The Final Gambit. And then next up I have Daughter of the Moon Goddess by Su Lin Tan. I had such high expectations for this book. I thought I was absolutely going to love it because it's like Chinese mythology, there's a love triangle, and there's like so many magical elements and beautiful writing, and just like everything's just absolutely beautiful, wonderful, whimsical, lyrical, blah 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 blah. And I did not like this book at all. Like, it was honestly just insufferable seeing this main character in this love triangle with these 2 characters who are equally as insufferable. Like, I have notes in my phone from when I was reading this book because it was a book club book, and just like it was so insta-lovey, and there were so many beautiful stunning quotes, but it was very insta-lovey. And there was this one moment where the female main character was upset that one of the love interests was going to rescue his like betrothed fiance, and then one of the love interests is upset about her going with him to rescue his fiance, and he's like, are you still in love with him? Is that why you're risking your life for someone you care nothing for? Have you forgotten that he left you for another? And then it's just so annoying. Like, just the most annoying love triangle ever. I didn't care about either of these characters, and I just didn't care about anything going on because it was honestly just all so just like I did not like this book. I really did think that I was going to love it. Like, I bought a physical copy. I had a hardcover copy of it. I don't know where it is. I think I probably got rid of it because the cover is so stunning, and just the premise, everything seemed so beautiful, and I had heard so many good reviews, but then I read it and I was like, I literally despise this book. Okay, it's a bit of a strong word. I do not despise, this book, but I just very much did not like it. The pacing in this book was also so bizarre. Like there were so many time jumps and it felt like it was going by so quickly, but also going by so slowly. And then there were like with the time jumps, it just made for a very confusing and frustrating reading experience. And then put that together with insta love and no chemistry in this love triangle. It's just I did not like it. So yeah, the next book that I have is probably not going to be a surprise because a lot of people have this on their worst books list, and that is Fourth Wing. This is probably one of the worst books that I have ever read. It's just, the more that I think about it, the more that I hate it, if that's even possible, because it's honestly, I don't want to say insulting, but it's like a little insulting to call this like an intro to like fantasy, because it's not good, and it's assuming that people who don't normally read fantasy are going to read this book and they're going to like absolutely love it just because it has like different tropes in it. And like I'm not like a beginner to fantasy, but I wouldn't give this book to someone who is a beginner to fantasy, because it's honestly, it's not a well structured book, it's not a well written book, and there's so many like info dumps, and the world itself doesn't really make much sense. The stakes are kind of like non-existent, characters are dying off left and right, and you can't really connect to any of these characters because you don't have enough time with them, and then when they die you're just like, okay, I forgot what your name was. I didn't really care about you in the first place. So like, you're dead. Okay, that's really unfortunate, but I don't care. And then there's a very frustrating like love triangle in one of the, well, it's not really like a love triangle because it's not even a love triangle. It's literally not even a love triangle because she picks one of the two people and is like confessing her love for him in literally the first book. So like there's no really like romantic tension because they get together at the end of the book. So you're not really like there's not really anything to like look for, because the point of having like a love triangle in like a fantasy series is like seeing like the development and the progression of these characters developing together. But if they get together in the first book and they're really confessing their love for each other, then like what's the point of continuing with the series? And you just have like such an insufferable character. Like the best friend is like the most horrible person to ever exist, and then the other love interest is just like I don't really care. And like the sex scenes were all right, I guess, but it's just like I don't care about anything else going on in this book. I have a whole reading vlog for it, and you can just see my experience reading this book. I was a little confounded and shocked and like surprised at the ending, but do I care enough to read the second book that's been getting awful reviews? Not necessarily. But yeah, I don't know why this book is so popular. I think it's because a lot of romance readers are reading this book as like one of their first few fantasy books. But like if you want to start getting into fantasy or fantasy romance, there's so many other books out there. I want to elaborate a little bit on what I said earlier about this book being like insulting to like new fantasy readers, because just because you're new to the genre doesn't mean you need to gravitate towards books that are not like well developed. Like if you are new to the fantasy genre, there are so many other books out there that are like actually good for beginners, and they have good world building and good plots and good characters and good development. So like, and just like the fact that people are like saying like, oh, this book is so good, like if you don't read fantasy, there's other books that are out there that are better that you can read if you are new to fantasy. And just like, it just feels, I don't want to say, I don't know if this makes any sense. If this doesn't make any sense, I'm so sorry, but like just calling this like a beginner fantasy honestly just feels like, it just makes it seem like people don't really know what they're gonna look for in a fantasy book, so you can just like recommend them this book and be like, yeah, it's a good fantasy. If you're new to the genre, just read this book and you're gonna like it. Like just because you're new to the genre doesn't mean you need to read poorly structured books. Like, I don't know if what I'm saying right now makes any sense. Like, I can hear it in my head, but like I don't know if I'm like verbalizing it in a way that makes sense, but it just feels a little bit just like icky having people recommend this as like intro for fantasy when it's like not a good not like a soundly structured book, if that makes any sense. Like, if you're new to fantasy, there's so many other books that are better. Like, you could read like Six of Crows, even like Mistborn, which I haven't read yet, but like Mistborn's a good one. And there are just like so many other good fantasy books out there for beginners that have all of the good fantasy elements. I feel like I'm not making any sense talking about this book, so I'm just gonna move on to the next book, which is Morning Glory Milking Farm. Don't ask me why I read this book, because I still can't explain it. Like, you know, FOMO is a very powerful emotion. It's honestly astounding what FOMO can make you do. Yeah, like, my friend was reading this book. She was sending me voice notes about this book, and it just sounded so unhinged and bizarre and strange. So I was like, you know what? I kind of want to find out what this is about. And my FOMO got the best of me because I read Morning Glory Milking Farm, and it was the most horrifying thing that I have ever read in my entire life. Like, I can suspend my disbelief for like a monster romance as long as it doesn't involve like gallons and gallons and buckets of liquids. If you catch my drift. So in this book, you're basically following this woman who works at a milking farm where she milks minotaurs, because you can go to this milking farm to like sell your sperm and get like money from it, essentially. Something like that. So she is working, you know, her daily grind, milking all these minotaurs, when one day she's talking to one of the minotaurs that she's milking, and she forms like a connection with him, even though she can't really see him, but she can feel him, and they're like talking and they're bonding, and then they fall in love, and they have a lot of sex, and there's a lot of fluids and a lot of liquids and a lot of just unsettling descriptions of sex with a minotaur. Like, this minotaur has such a massive member to the point where she can feel it like in her fucking like stomach. Like, you know, just like, it's just things like that that make me question monster romances. I can suspend my disbelief for monster romances just as long as they don't involve buckets and buckets of semen, you know, like 24-ounce jugs of semen, and just like liquids everywhere, messes everywhere, slip and slide and everywhere because of the amount of liquids. Like, that's not the path that I want to take in life. But I can get behind some monster romances just as long as they're not like gross, and as long as like, I don't want to say if they're more humanoid, I don't know if that would make it better, but just this one was too monstery for me. Like, I couldn't get over the fact that he was a cow or minotaur. He's like fully a minotaur, and I couldn't, my brain couldn't process that. Like, maybe some like aliens are better for me as far as like monster romances. Like, if I want to dip my toes into the monster romance waters, maybe I'll do like Ice Planet Barbarians, because they're like aliens, so they're like humans. Correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah, I need to stop. Since we're already on the topic of non-human love interests, let's talk about Lick, a Vampire Quickie. This is by Nikki Clark. It's on Kindle Unlimited. It's like 60-ish pages, and basically in this one you're following a woman who works in office job, and she suddenly gets fired from her job, and in a fit of rage she shows up at her boss's front door, and she gets killed by him because he is a vampire, and he kills her, and they become bonded. Like in this world, if you're a vampire and you turn someone into a vampire, you're like blood bonded to them, so they have like this intense bond and intense attraction towards each other. And you're just following these two characters basically just killing people but helping them like move on to the afterlife. Like they're not like murdering people, well they are, but like, they're murdering people that want to die for one reason or another, like if they're like really sick or if they're like really depressed, and they're just like helping them not slowly, but like they're helping them move on and like get rid of their pain essentially. And you're just following them going through all of this and having sex like every other chapter. I didn't really care much about the smut in this one, and the smut was like kind of questionable because they are like blood bonded, so they are like intensely attracted to the other person, but like the consent was kind of dubious because they don't really talk about the fact that they're about to have sex. They just like kind of go into it because like, you know, they're blood bonded, so I guess that's like the consent in like this world. I don't know, the consent was kind of dubious. I wasn't really a fan of that, and just the premise itself was like kind of interesting, but I just ultimately did not care about it, and like the dubious consent was what really like did me in, and I was like, you know what, I don't like this. I gave it like 2 stars, I think. Not a huge fan, but yeah. So the last books that I have to talk about are some romances. The first one being Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. I really thought I was gonna love this book. Like so many people on booktube love this book. I know Chandler Ainsley loves this one, and I wanted to read Yours Truly by the same author, and like it's in the same series, so I was like, you know what, I'm gonna read the first book and then I'll read Yours Truly, which is the second book. So I read Part of Your World and I DNF'd it at like 50 something percent, I think. I just could not stand the age gap. Like there is an age gap with these two characters, but it's not an inappropriate age gap. Like they're both fully grown adults. I don't remember how old they are. I know one of them is in like I need to look up the age gap. I need to look up the age gap because they were making it seem like she was messing around with a child, but she literally was not. But just the way that they made it sound was really frustrating. So the female main character was 37 years old and the male main character was 28. Like, you're both fully grown adults, and just every time that the female main character mentioned how young he was and like their age gap, every time she mentioned it, it pissed me off so much because I was like, you're both fully grown adults. There's nothing wrong with this age gap when you're both fully grown adults. Like, it was just so frustrating. And the female main character was also like so privileged because she's like a rich white girl, so she like doesn't know how to cook, doesn't know how to use a potato peeler, doesn't know how to use a broom because, you know, she's rich. She doesn't know how to use household appliances. So it was just like, I can get behind like a rich main character as long as they can like fend for themselves. But in this one, she didn't know how to use a fucking potato peeler. She didn't know what a broom was. And those types of like rich main characters, I cannot get behind, because how are you so disconnected from reality that you don't know what a broom is? Like, I'm sorry, but I just can't. I can't. And then on top of that, the age gap being mentioned like every other page, and the female main character being like, oh my god, I can't believe I'm dating a 28-year-old man. I'm such a cougar. Oh my god, I can't believe I'm doing this. Oh my god. Girl, you're both fully grown adults. Like, there's nothing wrong with this, but just, she kept mentioning it, and it just made it seem like it was something so horribly wrong, something so awful, and like it's not, because you're both fully grown adults. The age gap being such an issue for the main character and her not knowing what a broom was just made for a very frustrating reading experience that I DNF'd at 56%. like I was literally almost done with this book. I had maybe a couple, maybe I had like maybe 150, 200-ish pages left. I was almost done. And I was like, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. So yeah, I DNF'd that one, but I do want to read Yours Truly because I've heard so many good things about that one, and I hope that, you know, it's gonna be more up my alley. I feel like I'm gonna like that one more than Part of Your World, but yeah, that was very upsetting because I bought the physical copy and I was reading it and I was like, I can't do this anymore. So the very last book that I have on this list is Flawless by Elsie Silver. I had heard so many good things about Elsie Silver's books. I think they're like all over Book Talk or like Bookstagram. Like everyone loves Elsie Silver's books, specifically the Chestnut Springs series, and I was in a bit of a cowboy romance mood, so I decided to read Flawless and I did not like it. I honestly couldn't tell you what exactly I didn't like about it. I wasn't really a huge fan of like the writing. I don't remember much about the love interest in the main character. Like I don't remember much about this book, to be honest. I just remember not liking it and not really liking the writing. And yeah, I honestly don't have that strong of feelings towards this book because when I read it, I remember just like automatically giving it like I think either 1 or 2 stars. But I don't remember much about this one, to be honest. I just remember that I did not like it, but I am interested in reading the other books in the series because I keep hearing so many good things about this series and like the other books, like especially I think it's Powerless and Hopeless, I think are like the best ones in the series, but those are like the later books. But I might just skip some of the books that I don't really care for and just go to like those super popular ones, which I think are Hopeless and Powerless, if I'm not mistaken, because I keep hearing so many good things about them and I want to be an Elsie Silver girly, so I might give some of her books another try, or maybe I'll try one of her other series. I think it's Gold Rush Ranch, the series that has a photo finish in it. I don't know the name of the series, but yeah, I do want to give Elsie Silver another try because I feel like she has potential to have books that I would really enjoy with like tropes that I really enjoy and like very stunning love interests from what I have heard at least. So I will be giving her books another try eventually, but I just remember not liking Flawless at all. Couldn't tell you why, but I just did not like it. So those are my worst books of 2023. I honestly had so much fun filming this video because I just love talking about books that I don't like, because I feel like it's so much easier for me to talk about books that I don't like versus books that I love, because whenever I'm talking about books that I love, I'm just saying that, oh my god, I love this book is so good, this book is incredible and so amazing. But when I'm talking about books that I don't like, I'm like, I didn't like this, the characters were annoying, the plot was stupid, and like it's easier for me to talk about books that I don't like versus books that I like for some reason. I don't know why, but yeah, those are my worst books of 2023. Let me know in the comments down below what your worst books of 2023 were, because I'm really interested to see what books you guys didn't like and if any of those books are on my best books list. I think that would be really interesting. But yeah, I am going to be doing a best books and a most disappointing books video at some point in the new year probably, because I need to talk about all of the books that I loved and books that I was very disappointed by, and there are some unpopular opinions possibly in that video. And yeah, so that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.